We often get questions at our office about how we set up for trade shows. So today I thought I would share with you a few tips on what we do and what some of our consultants, the process that they use. But certainly if you have a method that is tried and true, keep going with that as long as you're happy with that and seeing and getting the results that you want. So many ask us how we sample and display our dips. We use our 5-compartment dip chiller. If you don't have one, and if you are doing a fair number of shows, I highly encourage you to get one. The one thing that I love about them is that the ice lasts in them for such a long time, and if you run out of a product, you don't want to continue to sample, it's so easy just to remove one of the compartments, or if somebody happens to have a little mishap, again, it's easy to remove one of the compartments. So you're going to put ice in the bottom of it, and as your ice melts, do not pour out the water as it is melting, because that is icy cold water. And in fact, I was doing just that at an event in Edmonton. The health inspector was watching me, and he said, you know, you should really leave your water in, because as the ice water comes up the sides of your containers, it keeps your dips just that much cooler. So I keep adding ice throughout the day, but I do not dump the water out. Of course, you know, if it got too high, I would have to. The other thing that all health inspectors want is that you put ice in your chiller and that your chiller is chilled before you start putting your dips in. So those are two important facts if you are at a trade event and there are health inspectors there. And don't be afraid of a health inspector. I always find that they are really agreeable to working with us. They like our setup. We get many, many compliments from lots of them. So if you have any questions, if you're doing a large event and you get that paperwork, and it asks you for all these things you need about hand wash stations and how your dips are prepared and how they're being stored. If you have any concerns on how to answer those, please give either Perry or I a call. We are so happy to help you with that. The other thing that we're asked about often is a hand wash station, and sometimes our consultants think that they need to rent a double sink or they need to have running water. You absolutely do not need to have those if they're available. That's great. But this is a hand wash station. So it's the square cooler that you can get, or sorry, the water jug that typically we use for camping that you can get at any Canadian Tire usually, as long as it's got a spigot so you can have running water. And then I've got a pail, and inside the pail there is a bowl that I just got at Dollarama. My husband got a circle out of it, and that's what's called a splash guard. But that really is when they ask if you have running water, that's really all that you need. First, you're going to have water in the jug. I always want you to have paper towel, and in fact the request that you have it on a paper holder so that the bottom of the paper towel does not reach or not touch any of the surfaces. You need liquid detergent. You need a bleach solution that you just put into a squirt bottle, and that constitutes a hand wash station. So now for sampling the product, we only use straight pretzels. We don't want them to come and have a complete meal at our booth. We just want them to have a sample. We want, to tease their taste buds so that they're either going to want to book a party or they are going to want to buy more because they're loving what they're sampling and they're not filling up at your booth. So just a tiny little taste is really all that they need. So what I do, what lots of us do, is we keep our pretzels in a container with a lid behind the product that we are sampling. And then I use a glove, and we take the pretzels, and I usually use the gloves that we sell at Sunset Gourmet. I didn't have one at home today, which is where I am videoing this, so I'm using the other gloves that I have. I love to use these little Dixie cups. They actually come from our wholesale club, like the Superstore Wholesale Club, and they're like you typically would get ketchup in at a McDonald's store, except the larger size. Pretzels stand up beautifully in them. I used to, and you still can of course, I used to use serviettes. You get stacks of them at any of the Dollar Trees or Superstore, any of the inexpensive stores. You don't need fancy serviettes. So you can still do this way. Then you take the serviettes, and with your gloved hand, you're putting your pretzel on the serviette, folding it, and handing it to the customer. Great way to do it. I find using it this way that the pretzels aren't falling on the floor. I can get 10 or 12 ready in advance sitting here, And otherwise, if you're trying to get some serviettes ready, they're like all over your table. This is just fast and quick. We hand it to our customer. They love it. We get so many compliments, and they're like, "Can you get all of these there for me? I just love it." They're holding it in their hand like this. They're not holding the pretzels in their hand. They're taking it like this. They're doing a dip. So everything is clean and it's safe, which is what we are always striving for health purposes for our customers. And we also want to leave them with the impression of how careful Sunset Gourmet is when they are presenting and displaying in a public area, and certainly at all of our parties. If you're doing a really small event and you do not have a dip chiller, one of the things that can work really well, this just happens to be a Tupperware containers. You know, we always support our direct sellers. Put water in here. You can freeze this overnight, and when you get to your show, you can set this on top, and you have your display cups with your samples that you have clearly labeled with what it is that they're eating, because then you can't set them up in this way. This works really, really well if you're doing an event that maybe is from, 10 to 12, 2 to 4 type of thing. It isn't, the best solution for a whole day, whole weekend type of event. You want to go with something like this. And what's really nice as well, whenever anyone is not sampling, you can close the lid, which we really like to do. But this is an acceptable way as well. The other thing you could do is take a plastic, say 10 by 13 pan. You can put souffle cups in with some rice or beans to weight it down. Fill your plastic pan with water, let it freeze, and then these are frozen right into the ice, and you can fill these then with your dip. So those are some acceptable ways if you're doing a small event and you don't want to be taking your tray. I like to work at a 42-inch high table. Number one, saves my back, but it also keeps little people's fingers out from dipping. And as a matter of fact, I like a little sign on my table that says, no double dipping, no dipping and flipping, and parents, please dip for your children. I want to encourage little ones to sample our product, because quite often when children love it, the parents will buy. A good way to not offend anyone is to say to the parent, your little girl or your little boy can enjoy whatever they would like. All we ask is that you dip for them. And it just, customers that are watching us like that, we feel that we're keeping everything safe and healthy. So, and nobody gets offended when you approach it in a really nice way. I am asked, in fact I was asked several times this week, how I sample our balsamic vinegar, and we do want to be sampling it because it is so popular, and once people try it, we know that they're going to buy it. Some people use a little tiny souffle cup that's like almost like a little, I don't know if it's I think it's a 1 ounce little souffle cup. You can certainly use those, but if you don't have them, you don't have availability. What you can do is our taster spoons. You can get those from Sunset Gourmet, and everybody gets those in their kit. You hand them to them with the handle out, so that they aren't touching the part of the spoon that's going to be sampled, or you can sample it for them. You can sample like this, hand it to them. The minute that they are done, you're going to give them a container to drop the spoon in. People don't mean to take something that they've used before and dip it into something, but sometimes instinct just leads them there. So this way, when you hold this out, they drop it in, they know where it has to go. You will want to make sure that you have a garbage container nearby for the items that they are disposing. And you also, one of the health regulations is that you have to have a garbage container inside your booth to dispose of anything that you are using. We're always using spoons that you can, when you're filling your dips, you're always using disposable spoons so that there is no chance of, say for instance, if somebody's allergic to garlic and you're doing osa garlic and then you're using that same spoon and just wiping it off and maybe doing something that doesn't have garlic in it. We can't have any cross, it's not really contamination, but you really can't cross the flavors. So make sure single spoon, single use all the time. So those are just a few of the tips that I wanted to share with you on trade show setup and the way we do it when we do a trade show or any type of event. But certainly, as I mentioned, if you have questions, don't hesitate to call our home office. We're all there to help you, and it's a great way. Shows are a great way for you to get your name out there, especially when you're new. We know that parties are the lifeblood of our business, and they're always lots of fun. And there's a whole lot more to trade shows, but I just wanted to do a little snapshot for you on how we set up, and most importantly, maybe not most importantly, but the questions I had this week, I had 5 different people ask me what a wash station was. So I wanted to show that to you so you could actually see what I was talking about. So thanks, have a great May, and I look forward to seeing many of you soon. I'm going to be training in Ontario in the next couple of weeks, and I hope to see many of you there.